Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Benjamin, and I work at Resco as the Strategic Partnership Manager. So what does it mean is that I drive the cooperation with Microsoft, and secondly, I lead our efforts in the nonprofits. And on the second day of the conference, we discuss Resco solutions for a variety of industries and use cases. And the upcoming blog is about Resco solutions for nonprofits. And what's better than to hear about this topic from our long-term customer, HIAS? Well, before I'm gonna invite Alex to the stage, I would like to highlight how Resco brand and values overlaps with the nonprofit sector. Well, you might have noticed that the Resco people are very, very human, something maybe too much, as you might have noticed yesterday, maybe. But Resco people are very down to earth. We are very supportive, and we strive to find solutions for even the most difficult questions when it comes to our technology. And we really try to drive the impact with our solutions. The topic of this conference is Productivity Unleashed, and how the productivity can boost the service delivery. Well, how does this all links to the nonprofit sector? Well, according to the NetHope study, 75% of nonprofit organizations replied that they believe that the digital tools could significantly enhance the productivity and the service delivery. Well, what is the service delivery when we are speaking about nonprofit organizations? Well, very often it is the delivery, let's say, service to people who are in need. So the stakes are very high here. On the same time, this very study says that 55 of the same asked nonprofit organizations identify the lack of understanding when it comes to technology. So we, as well on this conference, heard a lot of news when it comes to the Microsoft world, Resco world. So what does this really mean for us? For us, I mean technology vendors or partners as well in this room. It means that we really need to listen more. We need to support the nonprofit organizations through sharing of experience, sharing the best practices. And so because of this, last year, we kicked off a specific focus group that is called Resco Impact. Resco Impact started in Marbella, and it is something very unique because it unites people from different nonprofit organizations and as well the partners from the nonprofit world and as well the technology vendors such as the Microsoft and the Tech for Social Impact. Well, people at this monthly meeting that we have share the experiences, so how they use Resco. We talk about the challenges. We even welcomed some organizations that are not even using Resco. So this way, I would like to really encourage you that if you think there is somebody who might be a benefit to come to that session, well, then just let us know. And this way, let me as well say thanks to all the members of this community. Really, it's an honor to be working with you. Next, there will be the presentation from Alex. So he will share the journey of HIAS with Microsoft and Resco. And then Lisa Crosby, that doesn't need no introductions, right? Will tell more about the AI and the applications of it for the nonprofit industry. So thank you very much. And Alex, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Benjamin, for the great intro. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Mouratchanidis. I'm Director of Business Systems at HIAS. Over the last 19 years at HIAS, I've had many roles and responsibilities. And when I look back, maybe Yannick was right. Maybe I was a solution architect in the first place. At HIAS, we are starting, when we started with our mission 10 years ago. But before I get to our mission, I like to say that I'm very honored and I'm very privileged to be on the stage presenting HIAS, Microsoft products, and Resco as well. HIAS is an international nonprofit organization based in Maryland, Silver Spring, Maryland. And it provides vital services to refugees and asylum seekers, and also advocates for fundamental human rights. With that comes lots of great responsibilities. And as you can see, we're providing lots of services and programs throughout different countries and regions. 10 years ago, we had a vision and a dream to build our case management system. We call it HIAS CMS. That was the beginning of getting deep into our programs and services and understand what does it take to build something from scratch. Our goal was to build our Dynamics or CMS system in-house due to resources, but also due to talents that we had back then, and I was one of them. It took us almost a year back in 2014 to go through lots of leaders and programs throughout different countries and regions to be able to extract their requirements and their needs. And just to categorize them into a couple of key requirements. The very first thing that it was part of our goal was to design a system that is modular, it's expandable, it's secure, and etc. It was needed to be having that vision back then because we didn't want to create a short-term solution. Our plan was to create a future-proof system. And also in the future, we knew that as we were working closely with UNHCR as our main partner, we're going to have some data integration with UNHCR. So the actual journey of delivering by starting the design mode started back in 2015. And we were so aware with our vision, in order to have a successful system, we have to start with our data and system architecture before we choose the actual system or the platform. Actually, we know that that was Microsoft Dynamics, but we just pretend that it was not Dynamics. But we had to start with the data model. We started by separating the two pillars of our data architecture into two categories. We call them CDM. People may think this is common data model, but this is the highest core data model. And then SDM. So the CDM, core data model, focuses on the beneficiary management, anything around PII, regarding employment, education, address history, medical, anything that it goes around a human being. And on top of that, we built our SDM, which is our service data model. We had to design this to hit a couple of requirements, being modular, being also sustainable, because we are growing and we are evolving with our requirements and needs, and also be able to expand as we go. And as I speak with you right now, we are expanding our services beyond 5 that we had almost for 4 years. So in the CDM and the SDM, we were so clear that we had the vision that is going to end up on Dynamics. We have to separate them by business units. We have to separate them by security roles. Not every single country would benefit from all services. Some countries may have gender-based violence and psychosocial services. The other ones may have economic inclusion, for example, or some may have all of them. Just to have that flexibility, we had to design them in separate pillars. And as you guys know, by Dynamics and tables and business units and security roles, we were able to actually achieve that. There were more requirements. As HIAS is powered by Microsoft 365, and we are 99% on Microsoft Power Platform and Microsoft ecosystem, it was easier for us to kind of pick the future system, and the future system was Dynamics 365 Customer Service. And as we were adopting this technology, of course, Power Platform back then, 2015, 2016, it was on the same platform as today. It had limited systems and applications. But we had that goal already achieved back then as having Power BI for our BI and having Power Automation for automating and also using Dataverse as our backend database. Back in 2016, I was the only one in the team designing and engineering this whole system. And because of the very first step that it was very successful to take on, we were able to start our actual first pilot in Kenya. And we picked Kenya because Kenya had all of our 5 services back then, so we had to support Kenya. And soon after we released it to Kenya, we had lots of requests from other regions like LAC, known as Latin American Caribbean region, that we are actively in LAC region. They started to hop on Dynamics 365. So by choosing Dynamics 365 Customer Service and Power Platform, we just did not just upgrade our technology. It was about evolving HIAS as a whole, being able to sustain, being able to securely manage our beneficiary data, which is at our core of HIAS services. It was just beyond just technology upgrade. It's still, after all these years, we are feeling all these tangible feelings about Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform as a whole. But there was a couple of more critical requirements that it was very difficult to achieve. As you have seen in the previous slides, we are operational in various countries and regions. And in some of those regions that are very, very difficult, matter of fact, having connectivity and electricity is considered a luxury. Offline is a must-have. So as we are having, or we still had, and we still have as of today, our great relationship with Microsoft TSI, Tech for Social Impact, luckily, through Microsoft, we learned about Resco. And this was a game-changing journey for HIAS. Of course, it was a new system that back then, also my team had to adapt to. But by testing a couple of mini applications in the back end, we were convinced that this is the solution. So we had a couple of years to do our pilots, learning, and trying out the Resco's backend about JS Bridge, how to convert your custom codes. It took time, but it was worth it. 2021, 2022, you may all remember, it was something called pandemic back then. We decided to do our remote pilot project. We were already remote, but we became even more remote by doing the remote offline system. So again, we went back to our roots, Kenya. We started our first pilot in Kenya. It was one of those successful UATs or pilots that I've ever been part of. Being remote like everyone else at that time, not having any IT support on the ground was very challenging on paper. In reality, it became one of the smoothest tests I've ever done with my team. So our users who are not tech savvy, there are caseworkers, field workers, managers who are mostly focusing on programs and service providing. They had a smooth and very easy experience or pleasant experience by scanning the code that we built for them to authenticate themselves, get into the right data source, click on sign in, sync the data that was part of their business unit, do a couple of data entries, and then sync it back to our Dataverse. They didn't believe that this was happening, so we started to play with them. We started to put some data from HQ to see if they can see it right away. And they were seeing it right away, and they were able to see, yeah, the offline works. So that gave a belief to our staff in Kenya. But then, as Kenya was becoming more successful with their pilot projects, other countries in LAC kind of got jealous. They said, we want to try it out. So we tried it in Panama and Colombia in the last few years, and they also had that same experience by using the mobile CRM. Our pilot project was focused on a couple of tables only, so it was mostly from the CDM. We didn't want to extend it so much at that time because we were trying out the technology, but it was large enough to be able to assess and evaluate the success that we were looking for. As we were celebrating for the success of mobile CRM, we learned through our programs and our staff in different countries that they were using other tools that are actually considered to be the industry standard questionnaire designer, which used to be free back then. And they were using that as their on-the-go questionnaire and survey data collection. We knew that something is missing, and it was a security proportion of that. By having any systems other than that, your Power Platform means you have to park your data somewhere else, and then you have to sync it back. Lots of back and forth. Beneficiary data that is very critical. As I mentioned, we are providing very sensitive services. So the beneficiary data is at the core. Data privacy and data consent is at the core of what we do. We were not convinced that those tools might be the best tool for HIAS. So having our Power Platform, Dynamics 365, mobile CRM, it was time to explore the inspections. So inspections was one of those key moments in our development lifecycle that opened a lot of doors. Now, as we speak, we can integrate, we can embed it into Power Pages, we can have it anywhere we want. So this and inspections, again, it was one of those powerful tools that we found through the close relationship with Resco, of course. It was not just about empowering our staff, it was empowering our beneficiaries through our staff, because those data matter, and every data that we collect is equal to opportunity for our refuge and asylum seekers. So we actually did a pilot test, as we do with all of our products, in various countries, not just one country. So at this stage, at this time as we are speaking, our staff across 5 countries are testing, and so far they've created over 25 questionnaires, not just simple questionnaires, complex questionnaires, because they're comparing inspections with that system I mentioned earlier. I didn't call it, I didn't provide any names, but they were just using reference. And so far they've been successful with these complex rules and complex forms that they were able to create. At this stage, at this time, as I spoke about our journey, it was very brief. The collaboration between HIAS, Microsoft, and Resco is just the beginning. What you guys actually have done last year in Marbella was just the initial kickoff of a greater outcome by having nonprofits alongside with for-profits. So this is just the foundation for future impact and continuous impact with Resco and Microsoft. So once again, I'm so thrilled to be on the stage presenting HIAS, Microsoft products, and Resco, and thank you for providing me this opportunity today to present our journey to all of you. Thank you.